There are a huge number of qualities required. I think there are some essential qualities. The ability to make and develop relationships with many different sorts of people, both from our country and internationally. Other key skills essential to building those relationships are the ability to listen and really listen to what's being heard. To be approachable and flexible and not respond too drastically when you hear some things that are really difficult. I think it's also important to be aware of the confidential nature of the role and that there are boundaries with students that are both professional and personal, and that there are some elements of what you will learn from your students that may need further disclosure or investigation. The other two core skills are probably slightly less well recognised. One is the ability to be a bit like Sherlock Holmes, so that if a student tells you something, that you really look beneath what they're saying, because often the concerns they arrive with are really not the concerns. And the other is the ability to have a great sense of humour, both to be able to laugh at yourselves, but also to be able to kind of laugh with students about some of the situations they find themselves in. Students will use you as their first point of contact. Often it's because they're disappointed with their results, or they're struggling or concerned about their academic performance. The role that you offer them is really very much of a coaching or a mentorship role. And we talk lots about feedback, but lots of the important things that you're able to do as a personal tutor is to feed forward. So if they've done well in assignments, it's about taking what's good and moving it forward. And what they've done less well, building on that and encouraging them to progress. The other key academic role is really as a signposter or as a resource person for extra help. You may recognise when students come from feedback that they have particular difficulties that may require extra help, such as referral to dyslexia or dyspraxia support services. They may struggle with the language requirements, or they may struggle with the basic understanding of what's required as an academic student. The idea of the academic support is really that the academic achievement is central to their life at university. In my school, it's also clinical achievement, but academic achievement is vital. So you also need to suggest to them that they prepare before they come to see you. So if they're coming for an assignment feedback, it's really useful if they bring the assignment and they bring the feedback with them. I think, as in all areas, we're full of jargon. One of the most useful things is to make understandable some of the things that are written in academic feedback, giving them the opportunity to look at good exemplars of assignments and to link them into the online resources that help them to structure their academic writing, understand principles of reflection or academic referencing. I think it's really important at the outset to explain to students that there is no such thing as a stupid question, that anything that they ask is, if it's concerning them or if it's impacting on their performance, then it's absolutely right and fine to ask, and it's safe to ask it. They won't be judged. I think our students probably are a particularly unique group, as many come from a widening access background, so they are mature with families and a number of dependencies that they have to take into account. So at the moment, the most common is related to financial issues. Really, if you dig down, lots of those are related to relationship difficulties. Often there are bereavement or health and well-being issues. Many of our students struggle with mental health issues and the stress of managing work-life balance. Another major area of concern, particularly for widening access students or for those who are new to academic life, is the fear of academic failure and their concerns about their progress. And one of the factors that seems to impact on that is peer pressure. So students will often tell each other how wonderful they are They very rarely tell each other how much they're struggling. So the expectation of students is very high. So it's about really working with students to make them realise that it's their journey and it's their academic progress that matters, and that's what we're there for. I think this is where the Sherlock Holmes idea comes in, is really trying to explore why they're struggling. Is it that they're struggling because it is an academic challenge which they're ill-prepared for, or they really don't have the skills to undertake, or are there personal factors impacting on their performance? We recently had a student who started her degree, who arrived 8.5 months pregnant, had the baby and returned within a week to study. The concerns about how that's going to be academically for her is very high, but the expectation, perhaps unrealistically for her, is that she will achieve, but it's about working out, are there any other factors? That's an extreme example. There are also cultural factors that impact on how people perceive their academic performance. For a number of international students, they've never experienced having a personal tutor before, and talking about failure or talking about problems is a real taboo. So a number of international students struggle with the stress of being away from home, of developing relationships within a new country and need help, but finding out that that's what's going on is a really difficult job. So I think the key to that is actually finding out why they are struggling academically, because it may not just be that they academically need support. I guess the most important thing is to read the handbook, because it signposts you to everything. The other really important thing is to enjoy it. Establishing relationships with students, watching them grow and watching them learn and seeing them graduate and get a job is an extraordinary achievement. It's important to prepare. So to prepare for when you meet with them, remember what they've told you. Remember bits about their lives so that it makes that relationship work. A vitally important part of being a personal tutor is keeping good records. So records of when students see you, of what students' problems are, how they're moving forward. You'll have a number of personal students, so it's often very difficult to remember individual intricacies of their lives. Another thing that's probably really useful is to take advantage of the training that's offered. You won't know it all, and there will always be something that challenges you. So take advantage of the training, or if you have in your school people who are more experienced than you, shadow them or arrange some sort of mentorship with them. It is the best bit of the job, being a personal tutor. Connecting with the student experience and understanding their lives and how they are in the world is vitally important. It enables you, I'm hoping, to stay a bit younger, because you're aware, as our student body is generally younger, of what's going on culturally and within the world. From a very personal level, I'm always challenged and always learn new things from them. I guess that it's a bit like, I was a nurse in my early years, and it's a bit like having a patient group, that they come to you very needy and you help them develop skills to manage themselves through university, and then you watch them take off and fly when they leave university. So it's a fairly brilliant thing. I had a personal tutee about 4 years ago who was terribly homesick and wanted to leave after the end of the first year. We developed some strategies and she stayed, and she left university and is now a nurse in the Royal Navy and has been working in Africa dealing with people with Ebola. So this is somebody who didn't want to move away from home, who's now really spread her wings, and it's just the most brilliant achievement. Distant learners are much more difficult because we all build our best relationships on a face-to-face level. Fortunately, with most distance learning programs that we offer, or blended learning programs, we have an initial day where they meet us. But beyond that, we keep in touch with Skype, with FaceTime, and have discussion boards and portals within Learning Central that enable us to have access with them. There is always a deal with our distance learning students that if they have a query that they email with or put on the discussion board, they will get a reply within 3 to 5 working days, so that although they may feel very distant, they know that we will respond very quickly. They are a real challenge because they're the group who often struggle with things other than academic work, and because there isn't that relationship with you, it's sometimes very difficult to determine what's going on. It is the way students judge the university. The support they receive is something that either makes or breaks their life at university. I don't think it's an optional extra for academics. It's an absolutely essential part of their role as academics, and it's an essential part of being a university citizen.